What's going on, guys? This is Dave, aka Dynasty Dorks, and this is the SGPN Fantasy Football Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. We're presented to you today, and as always, by WynnBET. WynnBET is now live in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Louisiana, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Tennessee, and Virginia. From boosted same-game parlays to live in-game odds on every major sport, WynnBET has what you need to win. Sign up today and bet $100. If you bet $100, you win $100. That's Sportsline Podcast /WynnBET. That's Sportsline Podcast /WynnBET. That's a Deebo Samuel jersey. We're giving it away. So, as always, the housekeeping. Make sure you follow Brad. Make sure you follow myself. Make sure you follow SGPN Fantasy Football on Twitter. If you comment on any of our videos and subscribe to our YouTube channel, you get a free entry for this Deebo Samuel jersey. This is from Pristine Auction. You can see in there it's sealed. It's got the certificate of authenticity. And you send your screenshot over to SGPN Fantasy Football on Twitter. We're actually giving it away on the 6th. So there's only like 30 or 40 people that have entered. So you got a really good chance of winning. So go out there and get it. Yesterday, Brad, there was some news, right? We had some news yesterday.
Yeah, just a little bit. Nothing crazy. Crazy.
Yeah. It was absolutely wild. So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna go through all the trades. There was actually 20 trades in the last couple of weeks that led up to yesterday's record-setting 12 were traded. Pretty amazing. A lot of fun. It's like they're fantasy football managers now. I mean, they're just going crazy with it. So I'm going to go with this is compliments of my sports update, Ari Miroff. Just the number one. We've talked about it. We saw it. Christian McCaffrey. And so this is, I think, is a PSA from me. You don't temper expectations week one. If a guy gets traded, whether it's Thursday or whether it's temper expectations, people went out there and they were pretty disappointed. Christian McCaffrey with San Francisco, he didn't do much week one. Well, week two, he did.
Literally everything.
He literally did everything. But I will say temper expectations. Not everyone's Christian McCaffrey and not everyone's a running back. It's going to take a little while. I've seen a lot of Chase Claypool questions. Is Chase Claypool startable? It wasn't startable last week. I don't think you're going to start him this week.
Has he been startable at all this year, really?
Maybe people are playing Madden or just excited. I don't know. But they expect these guys to get out of the plane, go onto the field, and next thing you know, they're scoring a triple crown like Christian McCaffrey. So we already got a question. Please send all of your questions. Nathan, you've already done the comment. Make sure you subscribe so you can get entered to win this jersey. It's a Deebo Samuel giveaway. And all you got to do is send that screenshot over to SGPN Fantasy Football on Twitter. Brad, you want to take this one?
Yeah, I'm going Geno Smith here. He gets to play the Arizona Cardinals. Even with DK and Tyler Lockett looking like they were going into last week banged up, they still performed really well. They looked good. Geno's still a smash play every week. I do like Tyler Heineke this week, but and he'd probably be right underneath Geno for me, and followed by Trevor Lawrence in that order. But I'm putting Geno Smith in my lineup this week.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And don't forget about negative plays. Like Taylor Heineke's good for one or two, turnovers a game. Trevor Lawrence, one or two. And those points go away, especially if you're in a 4-point touchdown. If you have 4 points for a touchdown and the guy throws 2 interceptions, that erases one full touchdown. Trade A.J. Brown and Allen Robinson for Tyreek. My other receivers are J.J. Godwin and Joshua Palmer. So this is an interesting one. Tyreek Hill and A.J. Brown are absolutely on fire. I'm interested. Where do you go on this one?
I think I'm going to, just because I'm not a huge believer in Josh Palmer, I think I'm going to go with the A.J. Brown, Allen Robinson side. I think you have the difference between Tyreek and Joshua Palmer if you, depending on how deep your flexes are and how many players you got to start, you may have to plug in Joshua Palmer. I'd be more comfortable with AJ Brown and Allen Robinson in those two spots than I would be Tyreek Hill and Joshua Palmer. So I think I'm going to go the AJ Brown side here.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go the opposite on this one, and here's why. It's Tyreek Hill's on a team that is throwing the ball at an unbelievable rate. Last week, I think, was a little bit of an anomaly. Jalen Hurts, he's playing awesome. He's playing like an MVP, but he had 6 touchdowns in 6 weeks. Then he had 4. And so, I just think that you can't expect AJ Brown to have that many touchdowns when Jalen Hurts before this was only averaging 1 a game. And I think he's a good sell high candidate. But I think you can get more if you're going to sell AJ Brown and Allen Robinson. I like getting Tyreek, but I still feel like you could probably get a little bit more. I mean, they're both really good. Allen Robinson's coming off of 1, maybe 2 good weeks, and the Cooper Kupp injury. I don't think you're gaining too much, but I do like the Tyreek Hill side. So make sure Smokey do the same thing. I'm assuming that's redraft, by the way. Make sure you do the same thing. All you got to do is subscribe, comment on any video, and send the screenshot to SGPN Fantasy Football to get a free entry to Deebo Samuel signed jersey. So we had the Bradley Chubb trade. So anyone that is an IDP player, that opens things up for Baron Browning and Nick Benito. But Randy Gregory, I think, will come back with them as well. It changes things on the IDP side for the Dolphins. But most notably for us, Chase Edmonds moved, which the Raheem Mostert people kind of went, yeah. Well, Brett and I talked about it last week. It made way too much sense for Jeff Wilson to go over there. Jeff Wilson goes there. And Jeff Wilson is someone that you have to have on your roster because Raheem Mostert, as great as he's playing, we all know that it's always a concern that he burns bright and he could go out at any moment. Yep. And Jeff Wilson would be, he'd be a league winner. It's a very good offense. He knows the offense. He's going to fit in really well. And I think he could, even in some small usage this week, Chase Edmonds was their goal line guy, even though he's built closer to me than he is an NFL play. He's a small dude. Yep. And you use him as the goal line guy instead of Mostert. Jeff Wilson could already get that role. Sonny Michel's gone. Chase Edmonds is gone. So,
well, like you said, he knows the offense, right? So he's not going to take that week or 2 weeks to kind of be able to immediately plug in. So if they want to mix it up between Wilson and Mostert, it's pretty easy to do that right off the bat in week 1.
Yeah, even if he gets 20 plays, but 3 of them are goal line touches, that's very valuable.
Yeah.
Right here, Pierce or Mostert for a flex full PPR. Where are you going on that one, Brad?
I'm going Pierce. The volume is just there. He's getting all of the running back work from a carry perspective. So I'm going to go there, especially when you got that Jeff Wilson, like we just talked about, and a team that's really just chucking the rock right now also. So I'm going to take that volume play with Dameon Pierce right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with Brad on that one. I like them both, and I think you're in a spot where if you have Pierce and Mostert, you probably have, I think you told us earlier about, no, that was a different guy. You probably have other options where this is the time where you can start comboing guys to bulk up for the postseason run. You want to keep your depth now, but if you were to have Mostert and Pierce, neither of those were top 5 picks unless unless you're a 0 RB guy, you probably have Saquon or someone else on the roster, Jonathan Taylor. So you can trade these guys with receivers to get better receivers. So what about the Chase Edmonds side? What are your thoughts? The Broncos now have Mike Boone coming back soon, but Mike Boone's on the IR. Melvin Gordon, who the coach says is the coach that is bold-faced liar, says that he's their guy. Yeah, Latavius Murray is there.
Yeah, I like Edmonds. As much as you see the Denver Broncos wanting to try to throw the ball to the running back, right? You saw it a decent amount early in the season. I think they're missing that right now, right? Latavius Murray's not that guy. Mike Boone was kind of that guy that was coming in third down, but they were really more using him as a blocker than they were as a pass catcher. Melvin Gordon is a good skill set there, but I feel like they've lost trust in Melvin Gordon. Latavius Murray is still out touching him by a pretty significant amount. And it's clear that he's unhappy and that they're unhappy with his performance. So I like the Chase Edmonds play here. Long term, I just don't know. They can cut him and save $6 million with that contract, the way that it's structured moving into next season. So now, do I think they do that? Not necessarily. I think they're in a pretty bad spot from the running back position, with Javonte Williams likely not going to be ready at the beginning of the season, if not halfway through the season or even later. So I think there's a chance or a world where he's still with the team at the first half of the season next year. And I think he can be a startable guy that gives you kind of those Chase Edmonds numbers that we saw in Arizona, right? He gets 4 or 5 targets a game. He might get for 25, 30 yards, maybe get the chance to score a touchdown. But I don't foresee him getting the red zone work away from Latavius Murray. He's been pretty effective down there. So, it's not a guy I want to start, but I'm okay with it if you're in a rough spot.
Yeah, in your deeper leagues, I mean, you want running backs. For me, it's just a messy situation on a bad offense.
Yep.
I'm not a big fan. I'll take this one. Tony Pollard rest of the season over Jeff Wilson. But Jeff Wilson's more of a handcuff. Like Mostert is going to be the guy unless, it'll be some type of split. But Jeff Wilson. And so if you have Mostert, maybe that changes things. But Pollard, he outsnapped Zeke the week before, and obviously looks better. There's going to be a lot of pressure on them, especially if they're losing games to play him. And Zeke's injury was serious enough that he didn't play. He can miss some more time. So I'm going to go with Tony Pollard over Jeff Wilson rest of the season. Brad, any differences?
Nope, 100% agree.
All right, drop 2. Hines, Madison, Rashad, Hendo. Also, is Deion Jackson worth picking up? I'm going to answer the second part. Yes, Deion Jackson's definitely worth picking up. JT is their meal ticket the next couple of years. They're going to take it easy. And the fact that he re-injured the same ankle is a problem. And that something could linger. I don't think they're going to shut him down. But this team is they're almost tanking. Out of contention. They could shut him down, and that would be a huge problem. Who would you drop here out of those two? That's 2 of them you got to drop.
Yeah, so my snap share / running back handcuff article dropped today, and if you read that, you should already know my answer here, because moving into the portion of the season that we're in right now, where you're getting ready to go into the playoffs, you want to handcuff your guys. And right now there are two individuals on that screen that are specific handcuffs and also could give you some value on a week-to-week basis as well, and that's Alexander Mattison and Rachaad White. I think they are absolute alpha, high value, quote unquote, handcuffs to Dalvin Cook and Leonard Fournette if those guys happen to go down between now and the end of the season, both of which are typically, when they sustain injuries, are at the end of the season, right? My article talks about Leonard Fournette and how he's missed games in the playoffs for the last 4 years. So there's a good chance it happens again, and Rachaad White's going to be a smash play there. So I'm dropping Nyheim Hines and Darrell Henderson out of these 4 right now.
Yeah, and I mean, Hines for me was the easiest one, and I do think he's going to have a role. I think they wanted J.D. McKissick. They drafted James Cook. They're looking for someone to play that role, and I think he will have a role, but will it be like consistent on a week-to-week basis? And even if he gets that role, what does it look like? We know that if Alexander Mattison gets the job from Dalvin Cook, he is a league winner. And as soon as you drop him, which I have him on a ton of teams, I dropped my kicker today to stash somebody and just hold off. Like, I might not even play a kicker this week just so I don't have to drop Alexander Mattison. And I have Rachaad White on the same team, and I also have Leonard Fournette. So what's up, Justin? I'm just Rachaad White, and I'm going to put this out there. I wouldn't be surprised if Rachaad White takes over that backfield before the season is over, even if he's not just a handcuff. He might be the guy. That they're looking at ways to make this offense better, and I'm sure they're looking over at 27 yards on 9 carries from Leonard Fournette and saying, we got to do better. And the week before, it was not much better. Leonard Fournette and Najee Harris are both guys that were like their fantasy production last year was really held up by all of those receptions. They're not getting those receptions this year. And their inefficiencies as runners are really, really showing up. And that's a problem. And now that Rachaad White's eating into those receptions that Leonard Fournette was getting, he's dropping down. I put my dynasty rankings article out. It's not out yet. I almost got Leonard Fournette out of my top 30 running backs. I got running back 29.
Yep.
All right, winter whiskey, baby. All right,
Here it is. Here it is. This is one of my favorite distilleries, New Riff. They've got a winter one that they send out. It's been cold and rainy here. I was freezing all day, so I said it's officially winter time to me. So I cracked open the winter whiskey.
Not a sponsor yet.
Yeah, right.
Evening, gents, full PPR. Start one, AJ Dillon, Kyle Pitts, or Devonta Smith. Thanks and good luck this week. Thanks, Trey. Make sure you go and subscribe. You've already done the comment. And then send your screenshot over to SGPN Fantasy Football so you get a free entry to a Deebo Samuel jersey. Brad, who are you going with here?
Yeah, AJ Dillon is definitely not the guy for me. So I'm looking at Kyle Pitts or Devonta Smith. And, Kyle Pitts, if you look at last week, you say, ooh, there's the Kyle Pitts we've been waiting on. And you throw him in and he's going to go back. And I feel like quite possibly do what he's done to you for the first 7 weeks of the season. So I'm rolling Devonta Smith in this situation. Even though last week it was kind of disappointing, he still had, I think, 8, maybe even more than that targets. So he's still getting targets in that huge game that A.J. Brown had. So don't freak out about it. I think Devonta Smith is the play there.
Yeah, we're not always going to agree on everything, but we agree on this one. These are all like pretty risky plays because we've seen Devonta Smith go away. But even in that big week for A.J. Brown last week and Zach Pascal catching a touchdown, Devonta Smith had 8 targets. And, you could still rely on him for that. Kyle Pitts, we want to say like, oh, there's this ceiling. You can't. What is the ceiling? Last week was the ceiling.
Yeah,
and it was.
It's quite possible he lost you the first 7 weeks. If you because you drafted him in the 2nd or 3rd round, most likely. Yeah, and you felt forced to play him. So if he lost you 7 weeks in a row, like at some point in time you gotta say this guy's not going in my lineup anymore.
Yeah. Well, hey, let's check back in with the sponsors, and then we're going to get back to the rest of these trades. The first sponsor that I have to talk to you about is WynnBET. Ready to win money and boost your odds. WynnBET is now live in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Louisiana, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Tennessee, and Virginia. We're bringing the excitement of Wynn Las Vegas to online sports betting and casino play. Exclusive rewards are right at your fingertips with Wynn rewards at WynnBET. Be on the lookout for WynnBET Win Hour each Thursday from 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern. During WynnBET Win Hour, marquee games of the week will have better odds on WynnBET, giving you a larger payout opportunity. Great promos, odds, and payouts are happening right now at WynnBET. From boosted same-game parlays, live in-game odds in every major sport, WynnBET has what you need to win. Ready to play? Sign up today and receive a special offer. When you bet 100, you'll win 100. There's so much to choose from. All you have to do is head over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WynnBET just so they know we sent you. That's Sports Gambling Podcast, WYNNBET, to claim your free bet today. Offers subject to change. Terms and conditions apply at WynnBET.com. Must be 21 or older and present in a state where playthrough WynnBET is available. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, please call 1-800-522-4700.
Yeah, and you saw Dave show you that beautiful, beautiful Deebo Samuel jersey that you could win from the SGPN Fantasy Football Podcast. But let me tell you about our mothership, the Sports Gambling Podcast. They are giving you a chance to win your choice of either an autographed Lawrence Taylor, the original LT, or an autographed Brian Dawkins jersey. And the contest is completely free to enter. So here's what we need you to do. Subscribe to youtube.com/sportsgamblingpodcast. Again, that's youtube.com/sportsgamblingpodcast. Go in and comment on a video. Do it as many times as you want because each video that you do it to is a new chance to win one of those 2 jerseys, your choice. So make sure you turn on your notifications so that when you win that, you don't miss SGB contacting you when they pull you as the winner. Again, youtube.com/sportsgamblingpodcast podcast for your chance to win an autographed Lawrence Taylor or Brian Dawkins jersey.
Well, I'll just give it to you. So as far as Darrell Williams went to the IR, James Conner was back to practice, but he was limited. And so Eno is very, very likely could be back in. When do they play? Do they play on Thursday?
Yeah, they play tomorrow night.
Yeah, so limited, and it was a walkthrough. That's not a good sign. I think they'll take the extra week, and I think as an Eno owner, you should be good to go. But obviously, pay attention to what's going on there.
Hey, well, guys, this might be the opportunity to maybe go try to find that James Conner owner and see if they want Eno, because after this week, once James Conner's back, Eno's not really going to get those touches. So this might be that last kind of sell window to get something pretty valuable out of an Eno Benjamin type right now.
Yeah, no, that's a really good call. This is 6 weeks. There's 6 teams on bye this week, which means that people are desperate. People are going to make moves. I made a move in our league, Brad, and where people were they weren't taking my stuff. Next thing you know, it's like, oh wait, the buy apocalypse is here. Yeah, I'll take Mike Evans off your hands.
Yeah.
So this trade for me, I think has a lot to do with what their record is, and if they can be able to hold up. But what are your thoughts here, James Conner and Chase? I'm assuming Jamar Chase for Romeo Doubs and Pierce redraft PPR.
Yeah, I mean, I want James Conner and Jamar Chase over Romeo Doubs and Dameon Pierce, but I also understand if you're the Chase owner and you need a win, making the move for Pierce and Doubs. I get it, especially because Conner also might not play this week, which we just talked about. It's actually pretty likely that he's not going to play tomorrow night. So I get it. I don't want to do it because you're not getting enough for Jamar Chase, I don't feel like. But there's a world where Jamar Chase doesn't come back until week 14 anyway, right? So I get it. I don't like it, but I get it. But if I'd prefer to hold Conner and Chase if I could.
Yeah, I'm holding Conner and Chase. I mean, Dobbs has been hit or miss, and Pierce has been good, but his ceiling is lowered because of the offense he plays in. James Conner comes back. They're gonna have the game. They rest him tomorrow, and then he comes back. He could be someone that has a really strong rest of the season. He's got a very nice schedule. And Jamar Chase, like the way they're throwing the ball around in Cincinnati, you're going to want Jamar Chase over Dobbs. It's too big of a difference there. So you'd be getting Conner and Chase. So yes, smash.
Yep.
Plus, you'd probably be able to put Chase on your IR and get somebody else. So definitely want to do that trade. Good, nice trade, man. Make sure you send a screenshot of when you subscribe, so then you can get a free entry to that jersey giveaway. So let's go back into the next trade. Brad.
Debo, if you weren't here for it, because I've seen the numbers kind of moving around, so I don't know who's been in and who's not. That jersey is a Debo Samuel jersey.
Yes, Debo Samuel jersey. Yep. All right, so the next player I want to talk about is Calvin Ridley. This was an interesting one. Doug Peterson used a very interesting phrase. They asked him, why would he make this move? He said he's betting on the future. Calvin Ridley, if those who don't know, have been living under a rock, he was suspended for gambling. And the Sports Gambling Podcast, hashtag GGens only, is very disappointed. Very disappointed, Mr. Roger Goodell, in that you did that. And he bet on the Atlanta Falcons in the Jaguars game. And now he's a Jaguar. And so it's a very complex trade that the max value is a 2nd round pick and a 4th round pick. It's a 4th round pick and a conditional 5th that could come all the way up to a 2nd based on whether he gets extended with them and all that other stuff. So what are your thoughts here for the Jaguars? I know there's no immediate impact from a dynasty value. Jaguars and Falcons, how does the Calvin Ridley affect both teams?
You need to go get Calvin Ridley before the offseason starts. If you can get him for a 2nd round pick, I would go pay a 2nd round pick for Calvin Ridley. We see the Jacksonville Jaguars, they need an alpha wide receiver. They need a real alpha, and Christian Kirk is not that. Zay Jones is a good piece, but he's not an alpha. Marvin Jones is well past his, prime in general. And Trevor Lawrence is coming around, right? We talked a lot about Trevor Lawrence in the first few weeks of the season about how we could see kind of his progression. And as much as people want to knock on him in that Denver game last week, look, that was an incredible interception by Justin Simmons. Now, could Trevor Lawrence have put a little bit more air on the ball to go up over him? Yes. But Justin Simmons was like 48-inch vertical up in the air, snatching it, and that ball had some zip. That was an impressive interception. I don't want to say it's not Trevor Lawrence's fault, but you know what? I'm going to give him that. He's trying to win the game. It's a good throw. It's a good play on both ends. So I'll give him a pass. And I just see great things in the future for Calvin Ridley being paired with Trevor Lawrence. And that team is coming around. They really are. Travis Etienne is a stud. The offensive line is solid. The defense is coming around. So I think it's a good play. And if I could get him now, I would. If you're the Calvin Ridley owner, which I am in a few leagues, don't take that second, right? Hold out and wait, because his value is going to increase as you get closer and closer to next season. And all that hype starts to build around him coming in and being the alpha in that offense.
Yeah, he's the perfect guy to target if someone like doesn't have a 23 first and they want to give you a trade and they're like only throwing you 24 like picks. You can go and be like, well, I'll take Calvin Ridley plus a second or something like that. Yeah, I love the move. And the contract situation, obviously the Jaguars are assuming they're probably going to be going after a long-term extension for Calvin Ridley. He gets a 5th-year option, and because he was suspended for the entire year, his games served doesn't account. So his season is a wash. It's like he stepped away. So he still is under contract, and that's why he had to be traded. He wouldn't be a free agent, but they picked up his 5th-year option prior to him being suspended. So that he's going to play on an $11.1 million 5th-year option, fully guaranteed for, what's up, Evan? Is it Chashansky? Did I say it right? Yeah, what's up? Make sure you join the Deebo Samuel giveaway contest. Subscribe, comment. You already commented. Send the screenshot over to SGPN Fantasy Football for your free entry. Only 40 entries, I think. So I like it for Trevor Lawrence. I really do. I think they're doing the right thing. Travis Etienne looks fantastic. Christian Kirk looks great. Evan Ingram looks great. They needed an outside receiver.
Yep.
And they went and got one. So I thought it was a good move. And Calvin Ridley's a known commodity, and he's a great route runner. I think he's going to be a good fit in this offense. It doesn't necessarily have to be the alpha. Christian Kirk is still there, and I think we saw him with Julio Jones was good, and he still, I think, will be the number one option, but it's not like he doesn't have anything else, and they got ATN and things like that. So I do like that move quite a bit. The next is a pretty big one, interdivisional trade. You don't see that often. And this is the second time we've seen a big trade between the Lions and the Vikings. The GMs, they've worked together in the past, and they have a good relationship, and they don't care that they're in the same division because both of them are just looking to make their teams better. And so they swap picks to allow the Lions to go up and get Jameson Williams. This one was a pretty big trade as far as I'm going to look up the compensation. The compensation is pretty big for this one. And we saw TJ Hawkinson go to the Minnesota Vikings. Aaron Schill put this out there. TJ Hawkinson, he started out with kind of long hair, then longer hair. Then he had a beard and long hair. And now he's the actual mascot for the Minnesota Vikings on the field. It's absolutely wonderful. What do you thought about Hawkinson in Minnesota?
I love that. I think it's a good fit. I think he's going to end up with a long-term contract there, right? Irv Smith is an unrestricted free agent next year, so he's likely out of town. Plus, he's on IR, so TJ steps right into that role immediately and is likely going to end up with a starting gig for the foreseeable future because they're not going to move that compensation and not give this guy a payday, right? They're not going to not pay him. They've got Adam Thielen likely coming off the roster, Dalvin Cook getting up there in age, so they've got some margin to be able to use to give Hawkinson a good sizable contract to keep him there. And I think they've been looking for that piece, right? Yep. They wanted, you could see they wanted to get Irv Smith involved. They were getting him some targets and he just couldn't stay healthy. So I think you see a situation where Hawkinson steps right in and is likely the number 2 target, right? Adam Thielen at 32. He's not getting any younger. He's not getting the targets to begin with. KJ Osborne is that deep threat. So I think Hockenson ends up as that number 2 right behind Justin Jefferson, and Dalvin Cook and Alexander Mattison getting their stuff out of the backfield. So I think it's a great play for TJ Hockenson. If you're a Hockenson owner, the stock is up. You're likely not going to be able to buy him now, or you're going to be overpaying. So
yeah, it hurts Irv Smith, hurts KJ Osborne. I don't think it affects anything about Justin Jefferson. It helps Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins, he did really well with Tyler Conklin in the past with Jordan Reed. He's done well with tight ends before. Irv Smith has not been healthy enough to build a connection with him. So I just want to go over the compensation, then go through Evan's trade. The compensation was pick swaps. So a 2023 second and third were the Lions got, and the Vikings got TJ Hockenson plus a 2003 third. So swapping the second and the third, and then 2024 fourth. So the Vikings got TJ Hockenson 23 third and a 24 fourth. The Lions got a 23 second and a third, and a 24 third, sorry. And then Hawkinson's on a 5th-year option. So next year he is going to be on a 5th-year option with the Minnesota Vikings for $9.392 million. And then they will have to sign him after that, or he's going to be a free agent in 2024.
Yep.
So my team is Hurts, Higgins, Olave, Deontay, Kamara, Etienne, Everett, Pierce. That's a nice squad. Swift, Rashad White, Pickens, and Palmer. So should I trade or what should I do? So really the only thing that sticks out is a need at tight end. And you got Olave and Deontay with Higgins. That's good. Kamara and Etienne, that's good. Rashad, DeAndre Swift just chilling on the bench. What do you think here? Do you think he needs to make a move?
Yeah, there's something obviously that sticks out to me, and that's Deontay and Pickens. So you've got 2 offensive players on really what I would say is a bad offense right now. So you might be able to get some name recognition out of Deontay, or maybe somebody super high on George Pickens because he seems to have the eye of Kenny Pickett. I'd be looking to package one of those guys and a Rashad White to the Leonard Fournette owner and see if I could get a better wide receiver, right? The issue with your wide receivers to me is T. Higgins is injury right now, right? He's got a bunch of nagging stuff that keeps coming on. And I think it's severely affecting his play on the field, to be completely honest. And Chris Olave, while, if you've listened to Dave and I, we love the guy, but he's been doing everything that he's doing without Jarvis Landry and without Michael Thomas on the field. So eventually those guys are going to be back on the field. And I think Olave is still a good play, but his ceiling is going to fall a little bit at that point, I think. So I think taking that George Pickens and Rashad White, seeing what the Leonard Fournette owner wants, if anything. Hopefully he or she is a playoff contender and is looking for that handcuff, and seeing if you can get a wide receiver out of them.
Yeah, I'm still going to the tight end position. Gerald Everett is just, it's a massive, massive advantage if you have a good tight end. I'm going to go shop for Mark Andrews, and I'm going to go I'll take DeAndre Swift and Everett and go try to get Mark Andrews. I think the rest of your team is solid. You have a good quarterback. You have solid running backs. I like what Brad's saying as well, trying to break up those Steelers, especially take advantage of the Chase Claypool trade, which we'll talk about next. But Swift, I will say this. It's really hard to trade Swift right now because you're not going to get the value that you want, because he came back. Even though he scored a touchdown, everyone saw Jamal Williams score 2 touchdowns.
And now he didn't practice. And
so as soon as that news came out, people are not interested, and everyone saw it. So unless you can go big fishing and get a Travis Kelce or Mark Andrews or, a big name receiver, but I am with Brad. You don't really have a difference maker at receiver. They're all good, but you don't have someone that's like a difference maker. And Josh Palmer, I think, can have a good week this week, and you can probably sell high on him next week. Because Keenan Allen's going to be. He said he hurt it.
He's done.
He got hurt on the bye week. Like, you got fired on your day off.
Yeah.
Like, he got hurt on the bye week. That
I
is
think you're fine with Everett. I mean, the guy got 9 targets last week, 7 targets the week before. He's getting targets, especially with Mike Williams out and Keenan Allen still being hurt. So I think you're fine with Everett. I just so I wouldn't fret over the tight end. We've talked about it before. It's so volatile right now. They're unless you have Travis Kelce, even Mark Andrews, the last few weeks has not been great.
You too, sir.
Right? So
have a good week, man. Good luck. Let us know. Pierce is going off this week. Let's go. Yeah. Hey, listen, I'm a big Gerald Everett fan. He's definitely one of my guys. So Jeff Wilson to Miami, Chase Evans already talked about it. The next one would be Nyheim Hines traded to Buffalo. The compensation, the Bills received Nyheim Hines and his contract minus the dead cap that went to the Colts. And the Colts received Zach Moss plus a conditional 6th-round pick. So not much at all. I think Jeff Wilson went for a 5th-round pick, so everyone. The contract, the Bills have an opt-out in 2023 where they can get out of Hines' current contract for 0 dead cap. Yep. Moss is still on his rookie deal, and the Colts get a cheap contract for 2023, and he's an unrestricted free agent in 2024. We had a question earlier, and I think the Hines trade unlocks some things for 2 people. One of them, who I really liked and that I've been really down on recently, but Brad loves him, and that's Paris Campbell. I talked about it last week. Paris Campbell kind of took that Hines role. Hines is gone. Deion Jackson isn't necessarily that kind of a player. Paris Campbell can get more work now, and I think that the Colts saw that and moved on. Zach Moss, he's going to be there, but I still think Deion Jackson's shown enough that he is the Jonathan Taylor backup, and you need to go pick him up in your leagues because Jonathan Taylor didn't play. He didn't practice today. I have some concerns. Matthew Berry put it out there. Go get Deion Jackson. The dude's a stud. He's make sure you guys go hit him up on Twitter. This dude he's a nice guy from Duke, but he's absolutely balled out and taking advantage of his opportunities. What do you think about this trade? What do you think about Hines in Buffalo and what that does for Devin Singletary and for Hines?
Yeah, I think on the Colts side of this, I think Deion Jackson is the primary benefactor here. We saw him in his start when Jonathan Taylor went out. He had 10 targets and caught all 10 of them, right? So I do think they probably saw that and they said, you know what? We got a guy that we can trust to kind of catch the ball in the backfield, plus Paris Campbell being healthy and being able to get open close to the line of scrimmage. We don't really need Hines' skill set anymore. Let's get what we can out of him. So I do think Deion Jackson is going to see some benefit and a little more playing time, even if Jonathan Taylor is healthy. From the Buffalo Bills side, I'm waiting a while, right? We had hoped that James Cook was going to be that pass catcher that we wanted. We talked about it in the preseason. We said, look, they went and tried to get J.D. McKissick. That didn't happen. He ended up staying in Washington. Now he probably wishes he didn't. They draft James Cook in the 2nd round, and he had fumbled his first NFL snap, and it's just gone downhill ever since then. So they're looking for that guy. I just don't know if they're going to actually do it. I've got some questions around it. There's enough mouths to feed on that offense already that Nyheim Hines isn't going to get carries, that Devin Singletary's got that kind of stranglehold on that for the grand scheme of things. I just don't know that the volume is going to be there to give him a lot. Now, I think the thing that you can think about is in those games where you knew to start him in Indianapolis, I think you could still probably know to start him in Buffalo. If it's going to be a shootout, now there's a chance that Nyheim Hines is going to be on the field more often than what we might expect, and he might get peppered with 7 or 8 targets and be able to produce for you. I just don't know if I trust it right now.
Well, and the Bills is one of the best offenses in the league, and Zach Moss was clearly the backup to Devin Singletary. And Nyheim Hines does not profile to be a 3-down back. We saw it happen. Unfortunately, he got a concussion. I'm not going to say that doesn't mean he can't handle more work. But what if Devin Singletary goes down? You have Nyheim Hines, who they just brought over, James Cook, who they obviously don't seem to favor too much right now, and Tywan Jones. And so do you see them just throw the ball 60 times and abandon the run? And then, that could be what happens.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting situation. I think Devin Singletary is someone that he's like an underrated bell cow. He's getting a ton of work on a great offense, and he's someone you could still get fairly cheap because people just don't respect him. But yeah, this was interesting from the Bills' standpoint. I thought they could have been in the running for a Kareem Hunt, and with the price tag of fourth being floated around, I thought that could definitely happen. So the guys that I want to throw out there as far as guys that were not traded, we know the Cam Akers situation. Now the Rams are saying that they turned down some stuff. They didn't like it. It wasn't enough. They want him back. What are you doing with the Rams backfield? Is this a time to buy low on Darrell Henderson? Do we think Kyron Williams is actually going to be a thing? Or do you think Cam Akers is going to be a thing? Or are you just avoiding the whole thing?
There's a couple things I'm doing. One, I'm trying to avoid the whole backfield. And what I mean by that is if I've got one, I'm selling them, right? If I have a Kyron Williams, I'm trying to move him on the uptick of, hey, he's getting ready to come off IR, all this mumbo jumbo with Cam Akers. He's going to get some opportunity. I'm selling Darrell Henderson because I think after this year, he's just not going to he's not going to be there. He's not going to have a lot of opportunity anymore at that point. So I'm looking to move Darrell Henderson on the fact that, hey, this guy's the guy. Now, there's some questions on whether or not he's the guy when they're giving Malcolm Brown the ball, last week. But I'm trying to get out of this situation at all costs by moving these guys that I may have on my roster. If you're a Cam Akers owner, you're just stuck. You're just going to have to wait it out. If you get an offer for a third, I'd probably take it, to be honest.
Oh, yeah.
But otherwise, I'm holding until something happens because most likely nobody's going to pay for that.
I've gotten several offers for if you want to hand me Cam Akers.
Yeah.
I will say that you're pretty much just like the Rams. The Rams are stuck with him. They may drop him if it gets too serious, but it's still like that's an unlikely scenario at this point. But it could happen. But with that situation, Darrell Henderson was injured going into the week. He had a rib injury and he was sick. So there is some underlying things of why Malcolm Brown and Ronnie Rivers were getting action. And those guys did not play well. So it's not like Darrell Henderson went and lost his job. So Cam Akers, Darrell Henderson, you kind of see what's going on. Henderson, if you get him for the cheap, I think would be the guy that I would target. But again, like Brad said, not a good offense, not a good running game. I'm going to stay away from it. But the Cooper Kupp thing does make things interesting because they're not going to be able to throw the ball like they used to without Cooper
Allen Robinson, baby.
Allen Robinson season. So, guys, real talk on earth. What do I do with JT? I have KW3, K9, Ramondre 2. Should I start him or just let him be? If I do trade JT, then for who? You just go check it out, man. People want JT on the roster, and he still has that cachet because of his name. So if you look for a team, like you want to look for like a contender that feels like, you know what, I can ride my standings a little bit. If you're looking for a team that's 4-4, they're not going to go after JT because they need to win now. But if you see somebody that, they feel a little safe and they have other pieces, I would move JT. Absolutely would move him if I could. I'm not going to move him. Yeah, you're 7-1. You can wait. Obviously ride it out with Ramondre and K9. I'm rocking with those guys, but I would put JT on the block and see what you can get. You're in the playoffs already, so see what you can get. I love having the Kelsey or an Andrews as a stud tight end that can really be a difference maker. Because if you have stud like Andrews and the other guys got Hayden Hurst, like that could be a massive advantage in the playoffs to have that kind of a guy. But if not, just ride it out. Like don't take a cheap offer and move JT just to move him. But we talked about it earlier. Like he could legit be shut down, and he's probably not going to play this week. And so his value is going to get worse every time he's out. So look for somebody. Yeah, Waller, I wasn't a fan coming into the year. He's a volume guy. Devontae Adams soaks too much targets. But yeah, you can move JT for a lot of pieces. You could upgrade receiver, running back. I mean, people are going to want JT on their team. Any other thoughts on that, Brad?
Yeah, no, I would definitely be shopping him right now, especially if you're 7-1, and you just put in the chat Darren Waller's your tight end, right? You talked a little bit about that. So how can you work a deal to move JT and another small piece for? Maybe it's Darren Waller. I doubt anybody's going to pay for Darren Waller right now, but JT and a smaller piece for Travis Kelce and a Kareem Hunt or something like that. You still want a piece that you can plug in. I would not do JT straight up for a Travis Kelce. I don't know that the Kelce owner would do that, to be honest with you, I guess, but I would be looking to try to package him to get a 2-for-2 deal done.
Yeah, like a guy I would target right now is Amon-Ra St. Brown. Amon-Ra St. Brown killed it when TJ Hockenson was out. TJ Hockenson just got traded. He's not going to play for the Lions the rest of the year. And Amon-Ra St. Brown's finally starting to get healthy. He's someone that you could target. You could also, if you want to flip it over and target somebody like, a receiver plus JT for Cooper Kupp. Now the Cooper Kupp's hurt. There's a lot of different things you can do here. But JT's not a piece that's going to be hard to move. Just, be patient and get the best offer. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you send that screenshot SGPN Fantasy Football. We're giving away a Deebo Samuel jersey on the 6th. Kareem Hunt. So as far as dynasty purposes, I made the mistake, and I didn't know that. I know you can do this in Sleeper. So you can put time on your trade.
Yeah,
you can have
exploding offers.
Yeah,
they call them. Yeah.
So I didn't put an exploding offer. So this morning I had a surprise accept. So I was kind of scrambling to fix my RB2 position, and I put out a bunch of trade offers. I got one accepted, and then I just kind of forgot about it. Well, as soon as Kareem Hunt didn't get traded last night, the guy went and accepted my offer this morning. So I got Kareem Hunt for a 24 second and a 23 third. I'm fine with it, but it was a surprise, and I'm like, oh crap. But I was thinking about it and thinking, he's going to be a free agent next year. Whether he signs with the Browns or goes somewhere else, probably a worthwhile investment. And you probably could have got him a little bit cheaper, especially with how fast that guy went and turned around, accepted on me. So Kareem Hunt is someone that I think is a buy low candidate. He didn't get traded, so people don't see his value as what it used to be. We saw him used the other day on Monday night quite well. And God forbid Nick Chubb went down. That's always there. And so Travis Etienne for JT.
Smash that.
Travis Etienne side.
Yes, 100%.
Travis Etienne side, Troy. So if that one's for Pratham.
hurry up and say submit.
Go get Etienne.
Yeah.
So yeah, Kareem Hunt. What do you think about Kareem Hunt and his dynasty outlook?
I'm struggling with it, right? So we saw the Kareem Hunt usage very similar to what we saw last season between him and Nick Chubb for really about the first 4 weeks. We saw him getting 8 to 11 carries. He was getting targets. He was in the red zone, getting some opportunities. The Browns like to do this. Nick Chubb gets a couple drives, then Kareem Hunt gets a drive. Then Nick Chubb gets a couple drives, then Kareem Hunt gets a drive. And then they kind of mix it up in the red zone a little bit. They've got different packages where sometimes both of them are on the field. And you're seeing a lot more of that now, opportunities with Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb on the field at the same time, which we didn't really see last year. So, but outside of last week, the game against the Bengals on Monday night, the last 3 weeks have not been good. The last 3 weeks, they have not given him the ball. His snaps have been pretty similar, but he hasn't been getting the same opportunity in those 3 weeks. I think last week they were trying to put him on display. Monday night they were putting him on display. They were hoping he'd break a big play and somebody would come pay that for him. It didn't end up happening. He actually had, I believe they said it was his lowest yards per carry of his career with Cleveland. In that game on Monday night, it was not good. Meanwhile, Nick Chubb has his normal 4.6 yards a carry or whatever. So I think from a dynasty perspective, he needs volume at this point, and you got to kind of count on that. I don't know if that's what he's going to get. I think the nice thing about it is week 12 or week 13. if you're in the playoffs, I think Kareem Hunt's value increases a little bit because when Deshaun Watson gets back, I'm making the assumption that he's going to just immediately make the offense a little bit more effective than what it is now, where now at least teams have to respect the pass a little bit more than they do. And that's going to open up some running lanes even more for Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. And you're going to see his efficiency go up a little bit. So I think this season, it's good. If you can go get him, you're a contender. That's good. If you're not a contender, use this as a selling point to try to get rid of him. Hey, he's going to be a free agent. He's going to be going, possibly be the starting running back for another franchise next season and go that route. So,
yeah. And I mean, you're tapped into Cleveland more than I am. I took the fact that he got 4 touches and 4 touches, that they were putting him in bubble wrap and then they put him on display on Monday. And I took that as someone that has Kareem Hunt on my team thinking they're not trading him.
Yeah. See, I thought they were putting him on display to sell him.
And possibly, like, I just, it was just weird for them to just go, okay, you're getting 14 touches, 14 touches, 14 touches, 4,
Yep.
4, and all these trade rumors. And then I hit all the unders on Underdog thinking he wasn't going to get any play on Monday. And then he went and did a bunch.
Yep.
So it's one quarterback, Lamar Jackson, A.J. Dillon for Tony Pollard, Justin Jefferson.
I know where I'm at on this one. Jackson and A.J. Dillon for Pollard. And I mean, if it's one quarterback, I'm taking Justin Jefferson's side. Yeah.
Yep. Justin Jefferson all day.
Yep.
So
that's a very interesting point that you made with Kareem Hunt around, they didn't want him to potentially get injured those 3 weeks. They found out before the game Monday night, look, this 4th round pick thing's not going to happen by tomorrow afternoon. We're going to go ahead and move on, or Wednesday afternoon. We're going to go ahead and we're going to go with our 2 running back system. So that's an interesting perspective, but yeah, I didn't think about it that way.
Yeah, and who knows? I could be way off, but I definitely think that, Kareem Hunt is going to be a free agent next year. He's not going to be a Brown. And, I think he could go somewhere and be someone that give you a short-term option. But to break down the trade below, I think Tony Pollard is more valuable than A.J. Dillon. And I think Justin Jefferson is more valuable than Lamar Jackson. Yep. If you think about it, even if you drafted Lamar Jackson high, Justin Jefferson was like the 101 or 102, maybe the 103. And Lamar Jackson was a 4th, 5th, 6th round pick. So I still value them similarly. And Jackson hasn't been himself. And I know that like Bateman hasn't been there, and that's been a big problem. Well, Bateman's out. Like Andrews is now out. So I don't think you're getting the Lamar Jackson that you're wanting to get if you're giving up this trade. So give me the Justin Jefferson side. The last one I want to talk about before we get out of here is Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks is, publicly upset with the Houston Texans, and rightfully so. There was no trade made. Oh, and by the way, we didn't talk about Chase Claypool.
We did not, no.
So Chase Claypool, so the Green Bay, let's talk about that first. The Green Bay Packers, they offered a second for Chase Claypool. The Bears offered a second. They took the Bears second because the Bears gave their second and not the Ravens, because they got the Ravens second for Roquan Smith. And so the Steelers said, your second's going to be more valuable than the Packers, even though they're the same record right now. And so they got Chase Claypool. What are your thoughts about the Chase Claypool trade to the Bears?
It doesn't make sense to me, right? The way I look at it is you traded Roquan Smith for Chase Claypool, and a 5th. I know that's not really how it was, but that's in my head. That's how I'm looking at it. Okay, you moved Roquan Smith for a second and a conditional, whatever it was. Then you move your second for Chase Claypool. It just doesn't. It doesn't register for me, right? And I know that's, there's one here, and it's a conditional 5th. That's not really how it is. I get it. But that's how I'm looking at it. And it doesn't make sense to me that a rebuild team like this is going to go and get a troublemaker like Chase Claypool to put on their team, right? It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. So, no, I'm all on this too. So John Hellcamp put a great tweet out, and it said, the Bears passed on George Pickens and then traded a better 2nd round pick in a better draft class for the guy that made him irrelevant. and or for
the guy that
George,
he made irrelevant.
the guy that George Pickens made irrelevant. And Chase Claypool has had more than 50 yards in one game this year. He goes from a bad quarterback on a bad offense to a bad quarterback on a bad offense with low pass volume. Just because Chase Claypool's there doesn't mean they're going to throw a ton. But people are excited about Chase Claypool. I mean, I know I'm in with a bunch of Pittsburghers, and so he went for $30 on Fab this morning, and I'm like, you can have him. I didn't put a bid in. Period.
Yep.
I thought it was a stupid move for a couple of reasons. Roquan Smith, he wanted out. Plus, he's going to want a big contract, and you just don't pay off the ball linebackers big money, just like you don't pay running backs big money. And so I understand that. But with the receiver, there's going to be receivers in this draft class coming up that are much better than Chase Claypool at that pick. And the Steelers are so good at picking receivers, they might just go grab one. But the Bears, they doubled down. You made the situation worse. You passed on George Pickens, you passed on Alec Pierce, and you went with defensive players. Then you pay a second for Chase Claypool. Chase Claypool's a free agent in 2024.
Yep.
You have him for a year and a half. You're in a rebuild. So now you have to give Chase Claypool a $40-50 million contract and now triple down on your mistake.
Yep.
I think there's ride it out and draft a guy next year. And that guy that they draft next year, they will not have to pay until 2027.
I think it's interesting and that they may give him a contract this offseason, right? Because his dead cap and his salary hit are equal next year. So they could feasibly cut him and it's just equal, right? Because their dead cap matches what his salary is.
Yeah.
But so I think because of that, they may just go ahead and pay this guy, right? Before
they're going to have $120 million
possibly show out, which I don't think is going to happen. But they could sign him fairly cheaply to a 3-year deal and move on about the business. I think it's stupid, but at this point, who knows? Because they made a dumb trade. So,
yeah, I think the Bears fans were excited they got a receiver, but I do think it's kind of settling in today that they overpaid. It was reported that the Packers offered a second round for Jerry Jeudy. And so if you could have got Jerry Jeudy or Chase Claypool, I think it's pretty easy. Brandon Cooks was out there. But again, for me, it all goes down to the numbers. And that's why you're seeing, AJ Brown traded, and you're seeing, Tyreek Hill traded, and you're seeing, Stephon Diggs traded. These guys they cost so much money, and you only have so much, cap space, which I know it's a big cap, but when you have, rookie quarterback contract versus a veteran quarterback contract, it's a big difference. And so you're getting you're getting Treylon Burks for AJ Brown, which is definitely not a fair deal, but you're getting $25 million in cap space per year. And so that's how you got to consider it. And with Chase Claypool, like you said, they're probably going to pay him next year, if not the year after. It doesn't make any sense to me for them to do that.
Is there a narrative out there, right, other than Bears fans, that, hey, they traded a second for this guy? He's going to become a little bit of a focal point in that offense because they gave up so much for him. That's a voluntary trade. They didn't just they had to see something about Chase Claypool to say, we want to go get this guy, right? There's no way that the Steelers called them and was like, hey, we want to offer you Claypool for a second.
They drafted Velus Jones 71st overall, and that's a pretty high investment.
That's true.
And he's not getting much use in the offense. I think they just still run the ball with the running backs, and that's Justin Fields, Khalil Herbert, and David Montgomery. Just keep running the ball, and they throw the ball 20 times a game. And Claypool's going to get a few of those. I think it's good for Donald Mooney to get somebody, but Chase Claypool is going to be in the Equanimeous St. Brown role, and he's going to be a deep threat. He's going to get 4 or 5 targets a game, and you just hope that he grabs a couple of them. This guy had 11 touchdowns his rookie year and has 3 in the last 2 seasons.
So let me hit you with a question around this. So if you're a rebuild team, you're in a full rebuild, would you throw a 3rd round pick to get Chase Claypool on your team? Because when you're rebuilding, you got to take some shots on younger receivers, right? You just have to. Is Chase Claypool a guy that you would give up a 3rd round rookie pick for in 23 or 24 to try to go get Chase Claypool on your team?
I think it's cheap enough that I could do it. I'm not.
You think you'd get him for a 3rd?
If I got him for a 3rd, yeah. You got him in that league?
No, I don't think I'd take a 3rd for him. I've got him in one league. It's an orphan I took a couple years ago or whatever.
No, I wouldn't take. I wouldn't take a 3rd.
I don't know that a 3rd is the right value. I think that if you could get him for a 3rd, you do it. But if you've got him, you don't take a 3rd for him.
Yeah, I got 20 teams and I got Claypool on 0.
I've got 15 and I've got him on 1. So
yeah. So I mean, I would probably pay a 3rd if I was just trying to take some darts. I mean, some of your leagues, like I'm in a couple leagues where you have a shorter taxi, and I'm like, I got 15 draft picks and I got 1 taxi spot. Like I probably should go make a move for something. I just keep trading picks back for years and years. But yeah, man, it's been a good show. We've talked about all the trades. I wouldn't give up. Yeah. Yeah, man. I get it. Well, Nathan, thanks for hanging out. Brad, it's been fun as always. Everybody, make sure you subscribe, comment to enter that free jersey contest. And as always, good luck this season.
Cheers.